Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be playing the single dozen roulette strategy. It's a very simple strategy. We're basically going to be betting on 1 dozen. So the way we're going to be making our bet selection, it's based on the last outcome. So for example, you see the last outcome being number 14. I've provided a chart at the end of this video to simplify things for you. Next to number 14 you would see the third dozen. So that is the dozen that you are going to bet on. So I'm using a 500 unit bankroll. That is my stop loss. I am playing for 10 units profit per session. When I've made that 10 units, I'm going to take a break of 5 to 10 minutes and then come back again for my second session. So as long as I'm breaking even or in profit, I am going to restart the entire progression. So as I mentioned before, I have provided a chart with the bet selections. All you need to do is just follow the chart based on the last outcome. So I'm going to focus more on the betted progression. So let's get started. As we go along, you can see exactly how it works. So we have number 14 again. Let's just force a spin. So we have 14 came there back to back. Alright, so we have number 20. So we look on our chart. Number 20 tells us to bet on the first dozen. We place 1 unit on the first dozen. We spin. This is spin number 1. Remember, we're using a 3 count, so I'll explain exactly how it works. So you look on the chart, you see 0. It tells you to bet on the first dozen. This is spin number 2. You lose on spin number 2. Follow the chart for number 33. This is spin number 3. So we have a hit on spin number 3. So we're basically breaking even. But when you have a hit on spin number 3, you are going to keep your bets to the same. Now we were just betting 1 unit, so we're basically back to 500 units. We're breaking even. But let's say you were betting 2 or 3 units as your base bet, and you had a hit on spin number 3. You are going to keep your bets at the same and just restart the count. So let's move along. As we go along, I'll show you exactly how it works. Let's hope we get a losing streak. So number 11 came. I follow the chart there. It tells me to bet on the third dozen. This is spin number 1. So I'm basically restarting the entire progression. So I lose on spin number 1. This is spin number 2. I have a hit on spin number 2. Now I'm in 1 unit profit. I am going to restart the entire progression. As I told you, I am not, as long as I'm breaking even or in profit, I am going to restart. So I follow the chart again. This is spin number 1. I restarted the entire progression. I lose on spin number 1. Spin number 2. I'm playing for anything greater than 1 unit profit. My overall target for this session is going to be 10 units. So I have a hit on spin number 2. I am up to 2 units in profit. I am going to restart the entire progression. Spin number 1, playing for anything greater than 2 units profit. I lose spin number 1. Spin number 2. I lose on spin number 2. Spin number 3. So now I increase my bet by 1 unit because I lose on spin number 3. So I was betting 1 unit. I'm now going to, my base bet is now going to be 2 units. I follow the chart. This is spin number 1. So I have a hit on spin number 1, playing for anything greater than 2 units profit. I'm up to 3 units in profit. I'm going to restart the entire progression. It tells me to bet on the second dozen. This is spin number 1. Playing for anything greater than 3 units in profit. I lose on spin number 1. Spin number 2. I lose spin number 2. spin number 3. So I lose on spin number 3. I therefore have no choice to increase my bet by 1 unit and restart the count. This is spin number 1 using 2 units. I'm playing for anything greater than 3 units in profit. I lose on spin number 1. Spin number 2. I have a hit on spin number 2. So I check my profits. I am up to 2 units. I'm playing for anything greater than 3 units in profit. So now I told you when you have a hit on spin number 3 that you are going to keep your bets to the same. Now if you have a hit on spin number 1 or spin number 2 and you're not breaking even or not in profit, you are going to minus 1 unit from your bet and continue the count. So we had a hit on spin number 2. Our last bet was using 2 units. We are going to minus 1 unit from our bets and continue the count. Spin number 3. Playing for anything greater than 3 units in profit. So we lose on spin number 3. So remember what I told you. When you lose on spin number 3, you increase your bet by 1 unit and you restart the count. So we're now up at 2 units again. This is spin number 1. We lose on spin number 1. Spin number 2. Lose on spin number 2. Spin number 3. So we lose on spin number 3. We therefore have no choice but to increase our bets by 1 unit. So our base bet is now at 3 units. We restart the count. This is spin number 1, playing for anything greater than 3 units in profit. We have a hit on spin number 1. We're still down. We're not above 3 units in profit. So we were betting our base bet as at 3 units. We're going to minus 1 and continue the count. This is spin number 2. Lose on spin number 2. Continue the count. Spin number 3. We lose on spin number 3. We follow the chart. We had a loss on spin number 3, so we increase our bets by 1 unit. We restart the count back at 1. This is spin number 1, playing for anything greater than 3 units in profit. We're currently 3 units down. Spin number 2. We have a hit on spin number 2. So remember I told you when you have a hit on spin number 1 or 2, you are going to minus 1 unit from your bets and continue the count. Spin number 2. Spin number 3. And we lose spin number 3. So we add 1 unit to our base bet. We follow the chart, tells us a bet on the 2 dozen. This is spin number 1, playing for anything greater than 3 units in profit. We have a hit on spin number 1. We minus 1 unit from our bet. We continue the count. Spin number 2. And we have a hit on spin number 2. So we're up to 6 units in profit. We're going to restart the entire progression. So we're playing for anything greater than 6 units profit. We follow the chart. It tells us to bet on the 2 dozen. This is spin number 1 using 1 unit. We have a hit on spin number 1. So we're up to 8 units in profit. We're going to restart the entire progression. Spin number 1. Our target is 10 units per session. And we have made our target. We had a win on the first dozen there. So as you can see, we're up 10 units in profit. Now our hit rate is down to 39%, but we still managed to make a 10 units target. So when you have made that your 10 units profit, you are going to take a break of 5 to 10 minutes and come back again. But only for this video, I'm just going to force a spin and pretend that I took a break of 5 to 10 minutes. But you are not going to do that, guys. You are actually going to take that break and then come back again. So I see number 21 was the last outcome. I follow the chart. It tells me to bet on the first dozen. I place 1 unit. This is spin number 1. I am playing for anything greater than 10 units in profit. My overall target is going to be 20 units. This is spin number 2. I lose on spin number 2. Spin number 3. So I have a hit on spin number 3. So when you win on spin 3, you are going to keep your bets the same and just restart the count. But we're basically breaking even, so it's we're basically restarting the entire progression. Spin number 1. Lose spin number 1. Spin number 2. Have a hit on spin number 2. So we have made 1 unit in profit. We are up to 11 units. So I'm going to restart the progression again. Spin number 1. Now the bet selection is pretty simple. You just need to follow the chart that I've provided at the end of this video, and it's the betting progression that you need to get under control. Once you understand the betting progression, you'll have no problem. This is spin number 2, playing for anything greater than 11 units in profit. So I've made that hit there on spin number 2. I'm up to 12 units in profit. I'm going to restart the entire progression. Spin number 1. I lose spin number 1. Spin number 2. I have a hit on spin number 2. So again, I'm in profit. I'm going to restart the entire progression. I follow the chart. Number 9 tells me to bet on the third dozen. This is spin number 1, playing for anything greater than 13 units. I have a hit. I'm up to 15 units in profit. I restart the entire progression. 33 tells me to bet on the first dozen. This is spin number 1. I lose on spin number 1. Spin number 2. I'm playing for anything greater than 15 units profit. I lose on spin number 2. Spin number 3. Okay, so I'm having a little bit losing streak here. Let's hope it continues so I can show you exactly how the progression works. So this is spin number 1. I lost on spin number 3, so I increased my bets by 1 unit. I restarted the count. That was spin number 1. This is spin number 2. Lose on spin number 2. I move to spin number 3. So I have a hit on spin number 3. When you hit on spin number 3, you keep your bets to the same. We were betting 2 units. I'm going to keep my bets at 2 units and restart the count. This is spin number 1. I have a hit on spin number 1. I'm playing for anything greater than 15 units. I'm up to 16 units. I'm going to restart the entire progression. This is spin number 1 using 1 unit, playing for anything greater than 16 units profit. My overall target is going to be 20 units profit. I follow the chart. I move to spin number 2. I have a hit on spin number 2. I was playing for anything greater than 16 units. I'm up to 17 units. I restart the progression again. Spin number 1. Anything greater than 17 units. I lose on spin number 1. Spin number 2. I have a hit on spin number 2. Anything greater than 17 units. I'm up to 18 units. I restart the entire progression. Spin number 1. I lose spin number 1. Spin number 2. Playing for anything greater than 18 units in profit. I lose on spin number 2. Spin number 3. Lose on spin number 3. I have no choice. I have to increase my bets by 1 unit. Restart the count. Spin number 1. I lose on spin number 1. I move to spin number 2. I lose on spin number 2. I move to spin number 3. So I lose all 3 spins. I therefore increase my bets by 1 unit and restart the count. So we had a outcome of number 13 there. I was supposed to bet on the third dozen, but I accidentally bet on the first dozen. So you just follow the chart, guys, and you'd be just fine. If you had followed the chart, you would have had the win there. If I had followed the chart, I would have had the win there. So that was spin number 1. Spin number 2. I lose on spin number 2. Spin number 3. Okay, great. So I'm having this losing streak that I'm looking for. Lose on spin number 3. I increase my bet by 1 unit. So I'm back to 0 units in a profit. I had a win on spin number 1. I minus 1 unit for my bet. Spin number 2. I lose on spin number 2. I continue to spin number 3, still using 3 units. I lose on spin number 3. I increase my bet by 1 unit. I restart the count. Spin number 1. I am down to 2 units in profit, playing for anything greater than 18 units. I lose spin number 1, betting 4 units. Spin number 2. Lose on spin number 2. Spin number 3. Lose on spin number 3. I increase my bet by 1 unit. I was betting 4 units. I'm now betting 5. I restart the count. Spin number 1. I'm down 10 units, playing for anything greater than 18 units in profit. I had a hit on spin number 1 using 5 units. I minus my bet by 1 unit. My base bet is now at 4 units. I continue the count. Spin number 2. I lose spin number 2. I continue the count. Spin number 3. I lose on spin number 3. I increase my bet by 1 unit. I restart the count. Spin number 1. Have a hit on spin number 1. Minus 1 unit from my bet. continue the count, spin number 2. Have a hit on spin number 2. I minus 1 unit for my bet. I continue the count, spin number 3. I lose on spin number 3. I increase my bet by 1 unit. I restart the count, spin number 1. Very simple, guys. I'm sure you pretty much have the hang of it already. So that was spin number 1, I think. So I'm going to minus 1 unit for my bet. We were betting 4 units. This is spin number 2. And I have a hit on spin number 2, playing for anything greater than 18 units and an overall target of 20 units profit. I'm up to 21 units. So as you can see, guys, we had our losses there. We were up at 18 units profit. We went down, I think, to minus 8 units. So and now we're back up at 21 units in profit. So as you can see, guys, just with a little bit of patience, our bankroll was never in any danger at any point in time. So I'm using a 500 unit bankroll for this video. Now you would encounter losing streaks from time to time. It happens. But always play responsibly. Remember that roulette is a risky and unpredictable game, so never use the money that you can't afford to lose. But it's a very simple strategy. Anyone can play it. So I hope it makes you some easy profits. I hope you enjoyed this video. I thank you so much for watching. I hope, and I'll see you on the next video, guys. Have a good one.